Here we go. It is a midweek daily ticket coming your way. A Wednesday. Sean Brace, Mark Henry Jr. joining us for this voyage this afternoon. Look, bottom line is the NBA is returning after the All-Star game. Of course, college hoops front and center, but for a lot of people out there, maybe lacking in that category. But this is a great place to start refreshing everything as far as what you've been paying attention to and starting to pay attention to a little bit more of the teams of substance. We do have some pretty good games tonight. A really good game between Alabama and Missouri. And Mark is dialed in better than most on all of those topics, all of those leagues. So a lot to get to with our good friend Mark Henry Jr. live every Saturday, 11 to 1 p.m., not 1 a.m., p.m. on The Gambler, Tough Cover Radio Show. Mark, how we doing today, sir?
Doing great. Ready to kind of kick the gear into full-on draft and March Madness mode at this point. I'm full focus on that. Doing my team needs, and it's not even free agency. I gotta calm down. The draft, but it does. We were talking about it in the chat. This stuff comes sooner when your team wins the Super Bowl. Everything feels, the combine's coming. Everything feels like it's happening faster this year.
Yeah, it is. And it's the reality of what's taking place with everything. College football took a little bit longer in all of our minds, I think. Maybe not specifically as far as the date, maybe a week later than usual, but still the fact that we had those big-time games week after week after week leading up, and that felt like it took a little bit longer than normal. Of course, as you just pointed out, winning the Super Bowl, snap of the fingers, all of a sudden we got 4 games left in the college basketball regular season. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. As look, we'll be talking a ton about college hoops here today. But speaking of college football, if I could, I believe today they are meeting Mark Henry Jr. I don't think anybody would be surprised by this. But according to Yahoo Sports, the SEC and Big Ten athletic directors will meet today in New Orleans to discuss a plan to expand the college football playoff to 14 to 16 teams and assign a multiple qualifiers per league with as many 4 each for themselves. This is according to Yahoo Sports, Ross Dellinger. Look, there's nothing that's written that we haven't discussed, that we haven't known that would be something that's on the table. Is there one in the college football playoff that you absolutely must have? Is it a reseeding? Is it home games out? What is it from last year's first time rolling out the 12-team playoff into the next change that they will be making? What's one absolute you need to have in a new deal?
It's hard to say when we're going from 12 to 14 to 16 because it's hard. If it's 16, are there no buys? Is this like a March Madness 116 style thing where I guess
it says the 14 team being described as a 4-4-2-2-1 plus 1 model, which would give 4 automatic qualifiers, each to the Big Ten and the SEC, and 2 each to the ACC and Big 12. The highest ranked group of 5 team would get the last automatic berth. Then it says there would be 1 at-large spot or 3 if the format expands to 16 teams. That would automatically go to Notre Dame if they finish ranked inside the top 14.
Yeah, well, I guess the question, if it's 16, is there buys considered in that? Not just the auto qualifiers, but how are they doing the bracket, I guess? Because that's the big question is, are we still giving buys to conference champions, or kind of how are we going to handle that? It'll be interesting for Notre Dame. I almost think getting rid of the buys obviously would help them because they can't get a buy anyway. But from a national perspective, it kind of just depends what bracket we're going to, how many teams we're having in there. The one thing that I care about, it's not as much a system thing as much as it is a committee thing. I think that the conference championships have to matter. If you're going to win them and get a reward for winning them, there should be a consequence for losing them. They shouldn't count as a free loss on the schedule, in my opinion. Last year, Penn State did not move an inch after losing a conference championship game. What's the point of playing it? If you're in a better spot from losing it, Oregon had to go play Ohio State in the second round, as opposed to Penn State getting to play SMU and Boise and then Notre Dame. And Notre Dame ended up losing to Ohio State. they got an easier team than Oregon. They got an easier team in the Final Four than Oregon got in the second round, let alone the first 2 rounds. So, but the problem is every time you try to fix something, there's another issue that kind of crops up from fixing it. It's kind of the devil you dance with when you keep messing with the format so often. And it's why March Madness is the king, and it's why it is what it is, because we're accustomed to what it is. Obviously there's talks about expanding that and what that would look like, and I hate that, but it's why March Madness is the king, because we know what to expect every year. College football, it seems like we change the format every couple of years now at this point. So part of me wanted to stick with what we had for a while, just to let it grow and see if it worked out, and not just fully react to 1 year of it. But it's a complicated puzzle to try to put together.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you as well. I think you could have made some decent tweaks for after year 1 that wouldn't completely shift everything into overdrive. And 16 feels absolutely like overdrive. To put it into perspective, 16 team bracket would mean an additional 4 more games. Like, I get it. Hey, look, no one's complaining, right? Ball's ball all day. But do you think we need 4 more additional games to figure out a national champion? I don't think we do. Okay. I think we would all be in agreement on that. And then it goes on to say 8 first round games instead of 4. Like, all right, I don't know. Like, I guess they look at what's taking place in the 1AA, Division 2, Division 3 brackets, and I know that there's a ton of teams that make them, and it feels different because, like, I'll put it in perspective for us. We have been involved because of Villanova, and Villanova has been one of the favorites going into it in the last 5 years, and one at a time that they barely made the playoffs, and they made a little bit of a run. So, but still, at the end of the season, it was still South Dakota State or North Dakota State. It was one of those two that ended up winning it. So I guess, if you want to continue to add and make it a big spectacle, of course, money, that's what the ultimate reason why, ratings, all that, we get it. But I don't know if we need 16. I think if you want to go to 14, I can get behind that. But I'm kind of with you right now, whereas 12 was great. I loved it. I just think what you got to do as far as the automatic bids or the automatic buys are concerned, we need to tweak those. And then I wouldn't mind reseeding too as well, if that's something that we could discuss. But other than that, I mean, we got the best of the best. And if you go ahead and remove what you discussed with Oregon and how they ended up having to take on Ohio State, where they got, the short end of the stick on that one, if we can tweak that and fix that, I think we have about as close as great as we can get. It was great. I'm not going to say perfect, because nothing's ever going to be perfect, but as close to perfect as we possibly could.
Yeah, the reseeding I think would help for sure. And the thing, the conference championship I think has to matter, or else why are we even playing it? Just award the conference championship to whoever's leading the conference at the end of the year at that point. I think it's hard. But yeah, you said 8 first round games. That would mean a full on 16 team March Madness bracket, if that's the way they're going. It's fun. The idea of it's fun, like breaking down 8 games over 2 days. That'd be a fun weekend for us. We'd get a lot of content out of that. But I don't know if we need it, like you said it.
I think we all, dude, if people are like us in this content space for sports, man, we're starting to inch into new territory. It's like, wait a minute, they really need us. They really need us. Like, I don't remember ever being this tired going from college football with the NFL season into college football playoffs into NFL playoffs. And then now here we are. We look up, it's February 19th, and we're on the sports carousel, to steal that phrase from you. I love that. That's a good one. Speaking of carousel, I'm going to Disney on Friday, man. My first time. First time in a long. I went to Disney in like 1988.
Fun YouTube series for you, Sean Brace. If you throw it in your YouTube, Defunct Land. They cover these like old parks and they do a lot of Disney stuff because it's the biggest theme park going. Their logo is Disney, but Universal, some stuff like that. I don't know if you're, it's a fun rabbit hole to go down watching some of the stuff, and they touch on some, like they have stuff about Space Mountain, so they do some iconic ones that are still existing, but most of them are about abandoned and defunct kind of stuff at Disney or other parks. Really interesting YouTube series. So I'm a big Disney guy, big theme park guy. That's like outside of gambling, the draft. That's my number one thing.
Is it?
I went just for a little. I'm such a nerd, an adrenaline junkie nerd. My wife and I went to Disney and Universal on our honeymoon. Like
I didn't know that.
I'm not messing around. I'm a full on theme park aficionado.
All right, so but here's the thing though, like it's such a different world with a 5-year-old, right? And like she's front and center. She's front and center. It's all about her.
It's great.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast. But I'll tell you what, man, we're with the strategy that my wife and I have put together, the mapping, the lightning passes, being in this line, this area. Like, dude, that's the only, and again, it's just a different world with a 5-year-old, right? Like, this is the first vacation that I've ever been on that I'm like, all right, we got to be here. We got to do this. Blah, blah, blah. Like, all right, and I'm kind of like, again, it's not about me, but I'm going to make it about me right here, right now, because I'm on the microphone. It's kind of rubbing me a little bit like, damn, dude, there's no chance. There's no like, whoa, what if we get there and we see this? Like, I'm a little nervous over that, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
So it's funny. You're a beach guy, right? Is that fair to say? Yeah, like most of your vacations have been the beach for your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, most of my vacations growing up were going to Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, going to Disney, going to Universal, going to Cedar Point, doing all the theme parks that we hadn't gone to yet. Busch Gardens in Tampa. So I'm used to the kind of scheduling out of a vacation. Like you're here. Things will pop up. And with the lightning lanes and stuff like that, that's the only way you can do Disney nowadays, especially with a kid. That's like the perfect age for Disney though. Like when me and my wife go, Epcot's fun. You drink around the world. Hollywood Studios has some adult stuff. There's definitely some fun adult stuff. You go to Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, that's for the kids. Like that's for the 5-year-olds to kind of, that's, memories they'll have for the rest of their lives. So I love Disney, but that's like the perfect age to bring, especially a girl to Disney.
Like I said, it's all about her. So what, like we are going to move heaven and earth to find Moana. We are going, like we are doing Animal Kingdom. We are doing our Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom. Yeah, not Animal Planet, whatever. And we are squeezing in Epcot because that's where the Moana deal is. So we're doing all 3 parks. Okay. And then what was the other kick in the keister? Like now it's improving, but last week the weather in Orlando was like 80, perfect. And then you look to this weekend, literally a high of like 59.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So that's improved though. We're up to 70s on Saturday and Sunday. Friday's gonna be a little chilly. Monday's gonna be fine. Wife is down there all the following week. That's why we're going, because she's got something going on with work. So we're very lucky in that category. But it's definitely intriguing, man. It's the first time I've been down there in 3 decades, 90s, 2000s, 3 decades. So I do have a picture that when I was like 8, 9 years old with a Notre Dame T-shirt on. How about that? There you go, Mark Jr. And an Air Jordan hat, standing in front of the what is that thing called? I know it's Epcot, but what is that thing?
Globe.
It is
I
a
call
globe?
it the globe. I don't know if that's what it's called. I think it's the globe. I think it's the Epcot globe.
All right. Oh, cousin Nikki checking in. Go on the Guardians coaster break. That's another thing. Wait. That's another thing. Pause. Tie him out. Because here's the deal.
The kid.
And again, I'm making this about myself.
It's about me. Yeah.
It like, all right. So Avatar. I'm a huge Avatar fan. Huge.
Okay.
And like, I can't wait. Part of the reason why we're going to Animal Kingdom is because of me. Now, at the end of the day, there's tons like the animals, all that. So she's gonna love it. But so we look it up, and literally, even with the lightning pass, it's 90 minutes to ride this ride. Yeah. So now, am I going to leave my wife and daughter for 90 minutes to go stand in line so I can go ride this ride by myself? It's just we don't know how it's gonna play out. So we'll see. But look, that is on the list. The Guardians of the Galaxy is on the list, cousin Nikki. We'll see. Wish me luck. Yeah, nice work. All right, back over to the sports carousel, and we're spinning. Oh, Rafael Devers. He doesn't want to move off at third base. Bregman says he's in. Mark Henry Jr., how do you handle that if you're Alex Cora?
Bregman's got to play second. They don't really
Ooh,
have a second baseman there ready to go.
really?
I mean, Trevor Story's probably going to end up getting hurt at shortstop, so I wouldn't be
Devers
surprised
is
if Bregman
statistically
takes
the
over.
worst third baseman in
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah. I saw that stat. It's like a 9-year accumulation of defensive runs saved. There's only 1 year that I think was above -9, and that's like once you're getting there, that's like really harmful. I'm kind of the mindset that like I'm a little bit like defense doesn't matter in baseball. I'm a little bit like just let it mash and see what comes out on the other side, especially if it's like you're only losing 9 runs over 162 games with him as opposed to the average fielder. Like that's what that stat's supposed to mean. It's not that direct, obviously, but I'm kind of like if there was a DH that became like I wanted the Phillies to just be like, all right, let's pay Pete Alonso. Sorry, Kyle, you're playing left field. Like I would have been fine with that, and we figure it out from there. But
Wow.
I'm a little bit of maybe that's like video game thinking, to be honest, but or spreadsheet thinking. But Devers is so good in the lineup, and he's your franchise guy. I think I'd probably rather just not upset him than move positions and improve slightly in the field. It just depends like what they're going to do at second base and shortstop if they were to play Bregman and DH Devers, because you play shortstop, you play Story at short. I don't know who they don't really have like the second baseman that's going to fill right in and take over. So I think they probably just should put Bregman at second. I get the wanting to put Devers at DH, but we've seen it. Like I do think locking in a guy at DH hurts kind of your like day-to-day kind of flexibility that you have with a lineup and guys that you can get in there, guys you can get days off and things like that, guys you can get a day off while still keeping their bat in the lineup. I think we've seen it with Kyle kind of being planted into DH, and when Bryce was hurt and he couldn't play the field when he had the DH, it gives you limited flexibility. So, maybe it's something that you go through April and, once you're in the middle of the season, it's easier than in February to kind of get him to play DH, but I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. It also, I'm not so sure that Devers understood what he was being asked. He was like, it seemed like a little like off the cuff, like, oh,
Yeah.
He's like, that's my position. Like
That's my position. Yeah.
I watched the video, and you could make a case either way, probably, but.
Yeah, look, it's something that they should be very grateful that it's happening on February 18th, 17th, and now the 19th today. So time will ultimately work itself out, in my opinion. Bregman did say that he will play wherever he's asked to. And I'm with you, man. The bat is too good. He's incredible. I think, who the hell was on the show yesterday? I'm forgetting. It was Jansen and then, yeah, thanks. I'm losing my brain. Luke said he's a top 5 baseball player in the game.
Ooh, top 5 is strong. Just off the top of my head, Shohei, Judge, Witt, Jose Ramirez, Bryce. Top 5.
10?
Top 10's, yeah, probably. Kyle
so you don't
Tucker.
you don't want to upset that guy. You want to keep that guy in your roster. He's young, and I didn't realize how bad his glove was. So that was surprising to me. So I was like, all right, well, if they want to improve their defense, like, don't you have to be a team player? But to your point, like, hey, man, what are we talking about here over 162? Get out there and mash. And that team cannot afford to lose anybody, especially at this point in time, with everything that they've been dealing with over the years. And the Yankees having a success, that division kind of pulling away from the Red Sox. So here's a year that they could be competing, and we'll see what happens. But Bregman, I love Bregman. I'm happy he's out of Houston. That breaks up that little run there. Hopefully they take a step back. We'll see what happens there. We do no step back for Houston. They got they got bullets.
Yeah, they went out and they made a couple moves. You get Christian Walker, you get Isaac Paredes. They made a couple moves with their arms. I think they'll probably just, win 80, 88, 92 games. Like in that mix, they'll make the playoffs. I mean, we're dealing with it with Trey. Like Trey probably shouldn't be playing shortstop. Like Stott
Sure.
should probably be playing shortstop, and Trey should be playing second at this point. But I think it's one of those things when you have a franchise guy, they dictate certain things, and when they have a position that they want to play, I think they get to play it, kind of, whether it's hurting the team marginally or not. I will say, if you kind of have to go on a limb to say whoever you think the second best team in the AL is outside of the Yankees, like outside the Yankees, it's Baltimore, who just lost Corbin Burns, and Santander, who hit 40 homers last year. You have, the whole AL Central mess of teams who are all like 82, 83 and a half win total. Like Kansas City went to the ALCS last year. Their win total is 82 and a half. Like Cleveland won whatever 95 games. Their win total is like 83 and a half. Minnesota is right around there. Detroit had their magical run. They're right around there as well. But none of those teams are ripe with talent to the point where you're like, oh, this team's winning the AL and I'm putting a future in. And then you're kind of talking about Houston. You're talking about Boston. I really do think Boston has an argument to be the second best roster in the AL right now after adding Bregman, adding Crochet, adding a couple of the pieces they did in terms of arms. But if I was taking a pick, I'd say Texas. I think Texas kind of gets right after a weird year last year. Obviously won the World Series 2 years ago. You go up and down that lineup last year, every player had their career worst season, it felt like. And I just think that there's a lot of regression to the mean for guys who I don't think just became bad at baseball. And Wyatt Langford, a really young guy there, 5-tool prospect. He's only going to keep getting better. You get the Grom back. Anything he gives you is a bonus, considering what you didn't have him at all last year. I don't know. I don't think you're expecting a full season out of DeGrom, but if he starts half the starts, he's probably going to be pretty darn good. I think Texas is right back on top in the AL with the Yanks this year. Boston.
Yeah, I agree with you on Texas. That's who's jumping off the page with me a little bit there. Just trying to pull something out of nowhere. Baltimore does have their flaws, so it's hard to get behind them. You'd love to see them take a step up, but I don't think they did enough. In fact, I think they got worse losing Corbin Burns this year. So they're at 87.5 for their win total. Curious though, where do you stand on both of these? Red Sox 86.5, and the Houston Astros are currently holding steady at 87.5. Who's going over? Who's going under?
I would go very slight over for both. When I did my initial playoff predictions, I had Boston at 88 wins and I had Houston at 89 wins. They were both they actually would be playing each other in the first round of the playoffs in my little simulation as the top two wild cards.
We got breaking news.
Uh-oh.
The Eagles announced their new offensive coordinator.
Patullo?
Correct.
Yeah, if it happened that fast, it was going to be Patullo. Yeah, people are going to get upset with it because Brian Johnson didn't work out. I think it's hard not to trust the guys right now. And, we said that last time, I guess, when Steichen left. But I think it's hard not to trust Nick and Howie. And he's obviously been there a while. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, look, when it comes down to, I don't buy into the idea that this is either all Howie or all Nick, or Nick said this and Howie said, oh, I got to hand the keys over to you because of the success that we just have. I don't buy into that. Right. And especially what Howie Roseman's been through to get to this point. And I'm talking 2 years ago after, when Steichen and Gannon left. Right. That's the big deal. Oh, that's when they handed the keys over to Nick. And I get it. Those are Nick's guys, but Howie is not going to be hands off on any of the decisions, especially when it comes to coordinators. So to me, this is all an effort. I don't see these guys ever butting heads over any of these hires, right? It's not like these are so out of left field that no, damn it, you can't hire him. That's I don't view it as such. And hopefully I'm making sense. It's something like this. It's just yeah, okay. They're looking at it from the standpoint of he's been here, he's been involved, he knows. And for Howie or for Nick, he probably is more, loyal to him. But who knows? Howie could be as well. I don't see the completely, just bashing the heads like we're not in agreement here on this or the previous coordinator positions either. Now, once the season got started and things got ugly, that's a whole different story. But the hires, talking specifically about the hiring process between Howie and Nick Sirianni, I just feel like that this was more of a cumulative effort than people are giving credit for.
They're putting together a mafia here. We got an Italian at both coordinator positions, at the head coach. You got Big Dom leading the whole way. It's, you don't go against the family. I think that's what Nick was thinking here. So, nah, I'm joking. But I Connor Orr did from Sports Illustrated, a great writer, did write a great piece on just like the Italian roots and like of the Eagles organization and how important the Italian heritage is to the coaching staff. It was a really interesting piece about like where they eat in Philly and stuff. It was a great piece for everyone to check out. Patullo was heavily involved and interviewed for it, and he came off pretty well in it. But yeah, I don't think he'd be the passing game coordinator if Howie had a problem with him, in general. So I think it's probably an easier sell. I think if you would have seen like Frank Reich get brought up for interviews, maybe then is where you start to see like, oh, this is a Nick guy. Although I guess you could say how he hired Reich once upon a time. It was a long time ago. But if you would have saw Reich kind of get brought up, you would have seen that that's a Nick guy. But I will say certain outlets out there pushing the Doug Peterson for offensive coordinator stuff. Shame on you. Just shame on you.
Oh. Name them. Who did that?
Yeah. It's certain radio station.
Get out of here! Really?
They brought it up as like a topic this morning on a morning show.
Take a bath.
Yeah.
Take a bath, people. Are you really that?
Would he be willing? Would he be willing to do it? Oh my God.
Are you really that starved for content that you have to bring up something that damn well would not be approachable, B, beneficial? Like there is nothing, zero. There's zero. Like, maybe when Doug won the Super Bowl, I could say something positive on him. I don't have anything positive to say about Doug Peterson other than the fact he won a Super Bowl in 2017. That's it.
Yeah, go, watch hang out with your grandkids, come to some Philly sports events to celebrate, the 2017 ring. Just enjoy retirement, Doug. You've been paid a lot of money over the last years at this point. Just take a backseat.
So the Eagles named Kevin Patullo their new offense coordinator. He was quarterback coach, linebacker coach, DB coach, and assistant DB coach. Had just 10 years of NFL coaching experience combined in 2023. Oh, no, I read that wrong. Excuse me. I apologize here.
Yeah, Berman did have a quote here from Patullo about how different he and Nick see the game, and that's why they work together so well. Yeah, that's might just be something you say, but
I just pulled up an article, and my goodness, that was very confusing trying to read on the fly. Sorry about that. Anyways, I will pull up his Wikipedia page because you can trust that. Oh, he's local guy, Hillsborough Township, 43 years of age, great age there, as I am as well. Graduated from South Florida, GA in Arizona, then was with the Chiefs in 07-08, offense assistant, quality control. Then he went to the Bills for a couple of years, same stuff there. Titans in 2014, assistant wide receiver coach. Jets QB coach in 15 and 16. 17, he was with A&M. Wow, this guy's been around the block. And then this is where the Sirianni cross comes in. He was with the Colts 2018, 2019, 2020, pass game specialist with the Colts. Then he took the Eagles pass game coordinator in 2021, 22. 2023, 24, he was pass game coordinator, associate head coach, offensive coordinator. Look, man, Wikipedia's fast, bro. Already updated. Good God. Good grief. It just happened.
Well, you said I know you're usually a take a lap guy. You said take a bath to the radio station earlier. Yeah. I will say, and I shouldn't even bring it up, but Pete Prisco, what an absolute crumb bum that guy is, to be bringing up Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott, Dakota Rain Prescott, over a guy who just lifted the Lombardi.
Somebody else brought up Dak, though. Somebody else said that they would take Dak over Jalen. Like, these people are out of their minds.
I felt this way 4 months ago. that these people saying this were out of their minds. And nobody has rode harder for Jalen over the years than I have. But I almost feel like now I see some of the arguments out there when it's a guy like Prisco, like he's respected and national enough for me to point out and be like, this is ridiculous. But the idiots on Twitter and the morons still talking about Jalen being carried. In the past, I was interacting with all those idiots. I was in the mud every morning about Jalen. There's a part of me now that's just like, you know what? Like, I was right. Like, I don't have to fight anymore. I was right. Like, there is not a single quarterback in the NFL outside of the top four, Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Burrow, that you can even put in the same sentence as Jalen Hurts at this point.
Yeah. No, look, Prisco has a nice role for himself. He was at CBS, still is with CBS there. But he made the move. He's a South Florida guy. He's a Florida guy, so he's fitting nicely there. He's one of those get off my lawn type of old men. And his
likes white quarterbacks.
I don't know what the list is, but he clearly doesn't like Jalen for whatever reason. And because I don't know if he's got other quarterbacks, whatever.
He does. There is. But in general, I think he sides towards the pocket passer, looks good in shorts, grades out well in the combine, can make all the throws like JJ McCarthy.
I don't know who looks better than Jalen right now. Like Jalen Star is just so bright. Like he's taken Jumpman to levels that they've never been before. We're talking about Jordan product, Jumpman. Like they've never had a Super Bowl MVP, winning the same week with the Love Hurts on Valentine's Day. Like they bought so much. They sponsored both parades on 6 ABC Fox 29. Like Jumpman is number one when it comes to marketing, sports gear, Jordan, all that, right? I don't think anyone argue that. And by far, like they have never seen anything like this. They have a great Rolodex of names when it comes to basketball. They do have some good football players, but they ain't got a Super Bowl MVP quarterback fresh off a win over Patrick Mahomes. That's for damn sure. So there's nothing brighter than Jalen right now. And yeah, he's good looking too. He does look good in a pair of shorts.
He's football Jeter. And I'm not a Jeter guy. I don't want to debate Jeter today, but he is football Jeter in a way that he's just so damn cool. He's handsome. He's the leader of, a team that is, in my opinion, going to go on a nice little run here. Already has went on a nice little run. You go to a Super Bowl and you win another. There is a level of him making the brand cool for a different sport in the same way that Jeter kind of did in the early 2000s with baseball. And people my age were wearing Jordan cleats for baseball. And I don't think that was happening before that. And I think they're kind of trying to do the same thing with football and making Jalen the face of their kind of football brand. He's never going to say anything or do anything to embarrass your brand either. You know that for damn sure. So he couldn't be a better, ambassador. He also is from a city of insane people that will buy, any merch your company puts out. So that helps a lot. But yeah, there's a lot of Jeter to Jalen.
I like that. All right, let's keep it moving. Once again, breaking news. The Philadelphia Eagles have found their offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo. Come on down. Just rising through the ranks with the Eagles. So he's earned his keep. Good luck to him. And we'll see. It's not to say it's too early for me to have a concern. I can't even pop a concern up on my brain. Would I have been happier if Kellen Moore stayed? Of course. Didn't take place. Oh, well. This gentleman they see fit. Who can argue at this point in time? But we're going to learn. We'll find out what he's worth, what's different about him, what new wrinkles they're going to bring. To me, it seems kind of like, hey, man, that offense, you're running the same pieces back. You're going to have to do a couple different things here and there. But for the most part, we expect Saquon to be the bread and butter behind that offensive line, correct?
I think they're going to pass a lot more than they did this year. And it's also just
DraftKings has a future up on Jalen's passing yards.
I think Jalen's pass yards will be up. So in 2022, Jalen was, I think, 3,900 pass yards, and he was like 2,800 this year. I think he probably lands like 34-ish in that range. And then Saquon was obviously at 2K. I think you could probably expect Saquon to be around like the 1,300 to 1,600 range and still have a really good season. I was dead wrong in the preseason, and nobody go grab the clips. I remember you asking me about Saquon from a fantasy perspective. I thought the Eagles were like, we brought him here for the playoffs. We're going to conserve him, and we're going to make sure he's healthy in the playoffs. They did none of that, and then he still balled out in the playoffs. So what do I know? It worked out well. But you do have to think that maybe they start kind of trying to lessen the touches on a regular season basis. On Saquon. That's what I think. And obviously we're all focused on the big four in terms of free agents with Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Mekhi Becton, and obviously Zach Bond. But I will say the most under the radar name outside of that top four to watch, a guy I'd love to see back, is Kenny Gainwell. I really thought Gainwell took a step this year in pass protection as a receiver, even as a running back in terms of making some explosive plays happen. I know I think the conventional wisdom is that Will Shipley will just step into Gainwell's role, and maybe that's true. But I would love to see Gainwell back, and if you're going to take some responsibility away from Saquon just to keep him healthy for the long stretch, I would rather Gainwell be there to get those carries than some 4th round pick this year or Will Shipley. But yeah, I'm excited for kind of the news to start trickling out here about the free agent targets for the Eagles, because it just came out today. A lot more money than they were expecting for the NFL salary cap. So opens up a couple possibilities. For me, everybody else looks at that and goes, Myles Garrett. For me, I look at that and I go, let's keep our dudes. Let's keep this team together. This is the best team I've ever seen. Let's run. Let's go get Milton Williams. Let's go get Zach Bond. Let's keep Josh Sweat, since it's going to cost us for him to leave us anyway. And there was the report from Schefter today. He thinks Mekhi Becton might take a little bit of a discount to stay with Stoutland and the team that kind of revived his career. So I think you just run it back as much as you possibly can.
I don't think you're saying anything that we don't all agree with. We'd like to see it, especially with those names, like you said, with Milton and Josh Sweat, and of course, Zach Bond, get them back into the nest. We'll see how that one plays out. But again, on to the next one from the Eagles' perspective, and that is the combine and then the draft. So Mark Henry Jr. does a great job covering all of that. Be sure to follow him on all things socials and catch him on Saturday from 11 to 1. All right, let's keep it moving, and let's go ahead and get back over to baseball, because I do have a Phillies question. But as far as the spring training, and it gets started tomorrow, we got our first game tomorrow, excuse me, which is just wild. But from the Phillies perspective, like, I know that we are very happy with the way that the season as a whole, regular season, played out. It was a lot of fun, but as the crunch time came down, and especially playoffs, the team could not buy a hit in clutch time, could not move the runners over. And I know that we all said, like, in our perfect world, we'd like them to change their approach, or just something has to be different, or else nothing's going to ever change. In which that's the obvious way of looking at it. But were they a prisoner of some bad luck? Could they come up there and all of a sudden start connecting? Like, this is a new damn year. And I know that these guys aren't going to change their ways, but Trey Turner spoke today. Devin Caney, a matter of fact, had a little bit of a one-on-one inside the gaggle of reporters down in Clearwater, and he said he hasn't watched anything from last year. He won't watch any game from August and September or the playoffs. And I don't know. You don't know if you. That's what I mean. Like, I put myself in that position, I'm probably not watching either. Yeah. But I am open to changing my approach. I have to be. But I'm also not Trey Turner. I'm also not Bryce Harper. I'm also not, JT Realmuto, who made it to the league doing what you've been doing all along. So where do you go with that if you're Topper? How do you handle that if you guys are like, hey man, like, I'm not watching last year. Last year was last year. This year's this year. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it's a problem. Like, I do get that there is, like, what was the Jalen quote? Like, you don't take a dump and then look at it. You flush that. I do get that kind of standpoint from it. But I do think, like, your approach at the plate is something where, like, you're not watching the games. Just get one of the interns to put together like a super cut of all your opponents against, all your at-bats against lefties, all your at-bats against righties, and watch kind of like a cut. They do that. Like, that's something that these hitting coaches and these staffs do, like put together all your swings. And that's what they're looking at allegedly when they're sitting there in the bullpen or in the dugout. And you see guys on the iPad before they're about to go up, they're watching their previous at-bats against that guy. So, part of me is like, Trey, you should be watching those pitchers on the Mets. You're going to be seeing a lot of them a lot this year. And, for whatever, I'm not going to get too up in arms about that type of stuff because, these guys have done what they've done to lead their careers to be this successful and get to this point. And they kind of have to trust that the approach that got them here is the approach that will continue to get them where they want to go. But it's tough to get as jazzed up as we've been the last couple of years. It's hard to not say that. They're not in the Sixer zone yet. They're not in the zone where it's like, shut up until you do something. We'll pay attention. We'll enjoy the season. But the whole year there will be is it going to be any different? And I'm usually the guy, I feel like, that pushes against that. And I'm the guy that's like, this is a different year. You can't judge it based on year to year. And there is a part of me that thinks in baseball, the best thing you can do is just put together a 90-plus win team over 5 to 7 years and hope it breaks right one of the years. Because we've seen how many amazing teams flame out in the playoffs.
Yep.
There is part of me that thinks there is just, you have to have organizational consistency to put yourself in position to win. And yeah, would I have liked to do what the Dodgers did and go out and add 10 all-stars? Yeah, I would like to do that. But there is part of me that thinks as long as you maintain the level of successes we've had in the regular season over the last couple of years, you once you get to the playoffs, you have a shot. We saw that in 2022. We saw it last year on the other end of things. So it's hard for me to get jazzed up as the years where you add Bryce Harper, or you add Kyle Schwarber and Nick, or you add Trey Turner or Zach Wheeler back in the day. Even last year, coming off of the NLCS, it felt like we added a little more to that team than we did this year. But my dog is upset about John Middleton being on the float at the parade, and now he's not spending any money. But I think that there is a level of, as long as they keep this core of guys together and add small pieces to it, they're going to be an amazing starting rotation. The bullpen is probably a little bit more concerning. And that's kind of like what I'll be watching in spring training is how these bullpen guys look. And Jordan Romano, is he going to be kind of the answer in the back end? Or Ryan Kirkring, is he going to keep it going? Alvarado, is he going to bounce back? That's kind of my biggest thing to watch for this Philly season is the bullpen. I know everybody's focused on the lineup.
Yeah, no, it always is, right? So important how much run they get throughout the course of the season. Bullpens have never been more important than lately, and as far as a Major League Baseball across the board is concerned. So that is always one that definitely has my attention. Who's filling what spots and the way that Topper handles that, but we won't get those answers. Most of those answers in March. We will figure it out throughout the course of the season. But this is Bryce Harper's 7th season with the Phillies. 7 with the Phillies, and just want to see my man get a title, man. Really want Bryce Harper to win a championship here in Philadelphia. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. It feels like this is his home. Don't want him playing anywhere else the rest of his career. Want him locked in Philadelphia. So no better time than right now. Got a good team. This team was good last year. They just couldn't put it together at the right time. So hopefully they're able to fix that, and we won't know what that looks like until 5-6 months into this bad boy. So I'm always about enjoying the regular season as much as possible. That is fast approaching. They open up in DC, home opener on March 31st against the Colorado Rockies. All right, let's go ahead. Yeah, we do have someone checking in. Appreciate that, Philly. Just Philly. How do you get the name Philly?
I've seen him comment before. On Gambler stuff.
Yeah, but how do you get the name Philly?
I don't know. He was in early. He was the original YouTube user.
Yeah, I mean, day one. The Philly, Mr. Philly. Yes, we did it. Kevin Petullo as the offensive coordinator. Breaking news a little earlier, just probably about 10 minutes ago. No surprise. We kind of thought that was going to be the case. And I would have been surprised if it was not. And then that would have led me into some other conversations about who's deciding who and what. But I do believe that Sirianni and Howie Roseman are on the same page. That is a good thing. And of course, they just won the championship. So smooth sailing at this point in time. All right, let's get on over to college hoops. We'll close up shop with this one. Mark Henry Jr., where are you looking at? Because I'm looking at that Missouri-Bama game. I'm loving it. And I'm kind of leaning towards the home dog here in Missouri, catching 1.5 at home. That's where I'm kind of leaning on this one. I would think, actually, they're a 1.5 favorite. I apologize. 1.5 favorite, 171.5, big time number there. Of course, Alabama last time out lost that tough game to Auburn at home. Will they be licking their wounds, or is this a spot for Missouri to pop off? It's a tough league. It wouldn't shock me going either way, but I think Missouri being favored here tells me a little something. I'll take Missouri.
Give me all the Bama stock everybody sold. Give me all the stock everybody sold. This is my best bet of the season. Favorite bet of the season tonight. I liked it when it opened Bama -2, 2.5. Give me +1.5. I love it. I don't care that the money's coming in on Missouri. I give me all the stock on everybody selling after they lost to Auburn. I watched that game, and they struggled in the first half.
Yeah.
Second half, they were just as good as Auburn. And, a couple plays down the stretch they didn't make, obviously, that lead to the way that the game went. Mark Sears shot 4-17 from the field. I don't see that happening very often. Alabama shot 5 of 26 from 3, while Auburn shot 12 of 30. And obviously you can do that with a lot of games, but yeah, Alabama is one of the better shooting teams in the country. Do I think they're going to come out again and go 5 for 26 from 3? Absolutely not. I think if anything, you get regression the other way, where they come out and have a shoot the lights out night. And I think that you see an Alabama team down the stretch here that is every bit as good as Auburn and Duke. I know that they lost at home to Auburn, so everybody's ready to just move on and make it an Auburn and Duke race, and everybody else is chasing behind. But especially with this matchup with Missouri, this is like Missouri is kind of like a carbon copy of what Bama does in terms of running and shooting the three. But you look at Bama's weakness, they're 39th in defense, but they're 3rd in offense. Missouri, 44th in defense, but they're 11th in offense. Like, I think if you're going to beat Bama, it's probably going to be with elite defense. And Auburn has the number 13 defense, but I think that that's actually a little misleading. I think when they're on, they're just as good as any defense in the country. Bama still scored 85 in that game, but Auburn was able to kind of keep him from going too nuts in the first half, which ended up being the difference there. So I still believe in Bama, still believe in Sears and Nelson. I think that I'm not a Missouri guy. I don't buy Missouri as one of the top echelon teams. And I do think Bama's right there in a top 4. I think everybody's made it a top 2 with Auburn and Duke. I think it's Auburn, Duke, Bama, and Houston. Like, I think all 4 of those teams are top notch.
I think Bama was number 2, 1 seed, 1 seed, but they're second 1 seed in the bracketology for Lenardi. I'm with you there, man. I think that Bama is damn good. It is an intriguing matchup. It's one that I will definitely be watching tonight. And of course, we got Vandy in Kentucky and the overall number 1 team, Auburn, at home, taking on Coach Cal and those Hogs. That's a 15.5 point spread. Whew, tells you a little bit something about that game.
Give me the Hogs. I got 16.5. Yeah, that's too many.
That's too many points. I'm right there with you on that one. Give me it's now down to 15.5. So that tells you a little something there.
This isn't a money in the dumpster play, but this is like 5 units to Bama play. That's my best bet of the season. Haven't had a 5-unit play on the year. I've had a lot of 4-unit ones, but I've got another 4-unit one tonight as well. SMU kind of on the bubble a little bit, probably maybe outside looking in on the bubble, going to Notre Dame to play Shrewsbury's Irish. I've been fading Notre Dame all year long on the basketball court. They are a disaster, especially over the last couple of weeks here. I think they're 1-5 over their last 6 games. Shrewsbury, I don't know if you saw it, had a meltdown in a press conference that was like, someone asked him a question just about how fans weren't coming and to the games. There's not a lot of fans there. And he got himself like worked up in like a 4-minute rant where he ended it by like screaming, like, "Don't quit on me. Don't quit on these guys." He was going crazy in the press conference. I think things are going south in a hurry there for Shrewsbury in South Bend. And they had Mike Bray there, who was, consistency forever. And he just has not gotten it right there. I liked the hire at the time, but you look at, they lose to Virginia Tech, a bad Virginia Tech team. They were favored by 7.5. They were favored by 7.5 against a bad Miami team. They lost that one, barely beat a bad Boston College team. SMU's beaten all those teams by far more and has also beaten some bubble teams and some mid-ACC teams. So I like SMU to get the job done. I took the money line at -120.
There it is. Breakdown across the board. We hit on all the sports carousel. Mark Henry Jr., as always, with a bang-up job. Be sure to follow him. He does keep track of his picks. That's Mark Henry Jr. _ 5-star selection. I'm going head-to-head. True story. I believe. Now, I could be lying, so I want to take that back. But I haven't wagered that much on college basketball because of obviously what's been taking place. I think the last time I wagered on a college hoop game was when Arizona hit that half-court shot. Caleb Love hit that shot, and it was such a defeating loss. So this is setting me up for a bad spot here, but that's all right. I'm hitting send on the wager. We're going head-to-head. I'm taking Missouri. You're rolling 5-star pick. You're rolling with the Tide. We'll see who comes out on top. Good luck on that play, Mark Henry Jr., though, as always.
Tide country. Let's ride.
Great out. All right, that will do it for us today. Keep it locked right here to the Gambler. We're going to run it back on the other side. Also, 5 o'clock, we'll send it to Cavino and Rich. Back in studio tomorrow. Live show coming your way. Sam Oster, we're talking more things college hoops. We'll have Julian Edlow from DraftKings Sportsbook. But as always, thanks to Mark. Good luck on those plays. And if you miss anything, at FoxPHLGambler.com.